Hello, this is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com, bringing you another edition of Keeping Modern Janky and mulliganing this amazingly landless 7. Two Phyrexian Vindicators. Alright, we'll keep it. Do we want 2 Elegant Parlors? Sure. Okay, so what are we trying to do? If you haven't already pieced it together, we are looking to play. Half our deck is essentially low to the ground creatures that are similar to the Boros Energy deck, like Ragavan. The other half of our deck, roughly, is made up of ways to ramp and stick Phyrexian Vindicator or Boros Reckoner and plus Blasphemous Act to burn our opponents out. Okay, maybe we're up against Affinity. I haven't played Affinity in a while, and I won't lie, I have not missed it. It is not my favorite deck to play against. Feels like it's got a high ceiling of power and then a very low floor for weakness. And Lava Spur Boots. Okay, guess we'll be hopefully getting a Ragavan hit in. And I've missed playing Ragavan at 30 Monkey. I mean, I get it. I've lost to Ragavan so many times. But sometimes if you can't beat them, you join them. So yeah, we play the early game of creatures. They hit a land. That our opponents must answer or just die to the flood of creatures, value creatures, Soul Guide, Ocelot Pride, Ajani, Ragavan. And then this White Orchid Phantom is going to be real good. And if they do manage to answer those creatures by killing them, yeah, it makes our Boros Reckoner kind of sad, but still a 3/3 for a striker that's hard to kill is nice. But this 5/5 flying, amazing creature for 4 mana, hopefully will close out games. And if they don't manage to kill our threats, but manage to stabilize by flooding the board, as something like Affinity might be able to do, we will instead use Blasphemous Act to go over the top and hit them for 13. So we may not get another Ragavan hit in here. Hopefully we'll draw an untapped land. Hey, we did. Okay, so we're going to dash in the Ragavan because I just don't think we're going to get many more chances here. And on 2-1 against Affinity is not going to be that good. They're going to be able to block for days pretty soon here. So we'll take our hit. Another Darksteel Citadel. Interesting. And then we will ruin our opponent's day. Blow up the Urza Saga. They do get a basic. But it does shut down their plan, I think, of flooding the board with Constructs. And next turn, we can play a Phyrexian Vindicator. And then a second one if they can find an answer for the first one. Okay, taking out our white Phantom Orchid. 2 cards in hand. If we draw another, I mean, I don't know, I should never ask for untapped lands, but if we do draw another untapped land, things could go well for us. I'll hold down the fort for blocking of Ragavan. Makes sense. I'd rather just draw action, to be honest. All right. So I think we'll hold on to the White Orchid Phantom. I was tempted just to run it out there in the Ragavan to see what our opponent how they answer one of those and try to run them out of answers. But at this point, it'd be nice to have an answer for a Urza Saga. And I'm hoping they don't have just a counterspell, which made me sad. If they do, we have a second Phyrexian Vindicator. The feeling our opponent's just reading this card. If they have a counterspell, there's no way that it resolves. I mean, let me just go on a small tangent about dragons. Yes, this costs 4 white. Very mana restrictive. But holy cow, it's a 5/5 flyer with all of this amazing text for 4 mana. Meanwhile, dragons must be 5 mana. And they are always 4/4s these days. And if they're not 4/4s, they don't have haste. The dragons, man, they just have not found the power level that some of these other cards, they haven't gotten there the way some of these other cards have. All right, Affinity can only do one thing, and that is what Affinity set out to do. Flood the board, draw some cards, figure out a way to answer what we're... I mean, I don't think they have a lot of main deck answers, let's put it that way. I think they're just trying to beat us with what they're doing. So can they beat us with... can they beat our Phyrexian Vindicator? And the answer is probably not. And even now, like, we're not that far away from just straight up Blasphemous Act. In fact, if we draw a Blasphemous Act, we can probably cast it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we wouldn't be able to cast it yet, but we would be very close. And Blasphemous Act is a main deck sweeper, and main deck sweepers are really good against Affinity. So yeah, we have a lot of that. We got a lot of game against Affinity right now. Our early threats, they do get kind of stonewalled by a fast Affinity start, but our late game is super powerful. Opponent just filling up their hand. Yeah, you got it. I mean, I could just press F6, I think, at this point. Turn is taking forever. So what we draw. And I guess they could try to flood the board enough to hit us in one swing back, especially if they draw into a wow, I can't believe I'm blanking on that. Anyway, if they draw into their equipment that pumps them for each artifact. It's the Blasphemous Act. Hallelujah. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make this cost 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 makes it cost 4. All right, well, we're going to go to combat first. Just, oh, if they had a normal Affinity start, this might just be the game. I mean, right now it costs 5. It's 9 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. We didn't hit a land, so we could just cast it here if they're going to block. It says 1 damage. We'll do it to their face. Get them to that magic 13, although they're going to be hurting themselves a lot, I think. Oh, 1's good, 2's probably just as good. All right, opponent. What I really want to see you do is flood the board with creatures, tap out, and let us Blasphemous Act you to death. Do 26 points of damage to you. Give me that dream. Let my dream be realized. Give me that on a Tuesday. Make my Tuesday for me, opponent. I'll even F6 to let you just go about your business. They even saw the Blasphemous Act that we were drawing. And now we have 2 of them, and they know They know it's coming if they cast another creature. We're left with hoping to hit a land. Just one land. Although I guess they could easily have a counterspell for it, but it is a land. Well, we're going for it. Blasphemous Active, because that's what if they have the counterspell, they have the counterspell. I think we're still in okay position to just win. Yes, we have done it again. Blasphemous Act, wreaking havoc upon our blue-white Affinity opponent. Oh, okay. That was really fun. That was really fun. All right, what do we have against Affinity other than what's in our main deck? Guess we could do Static Prison. Surge of Salvation, not that good. Raven Charm doesn't hit artifacts. Sanctifier on Vec doesn't really do anything. And that's our sideboard. All right. I guess we're just running it back. That's the second. Man, this is so much fun. It's the first time I've won with Phyrexian Vindicator. 26 to the dome. We won with Boros Reckoner in one game. So this is so much better than the other. So if you go back, I'm pretty sure I have some video up of maybe I didn't even post them. They were so bad, but I built a similar Blasphemous Act deck probably almost a year ago, playing some of the new cards. There's a werewolf that does it has the same effect as Boros Reckoner that costs 4 mana. Then there's the 5 mana goblin that whenever it's dealt damage also deals damage. We'll keep. We have the land destruction. We have a way to kill something, and we have a creature. I mean, it's not. We have 2 creatures. Instant speed removal can be good against Affinity. Anyway, and they have their Affinity start. I mean, the best thing about playing Affinity is we want them to flood the creatures. There's our Blasphemous Act. We want them to flood the board with creatures because we can cast our Blasphemous Act for really cheap then. Anyway, and it's the Instigator or whatever, like 5 mana. It's a 1/1. You can tap it, and it's indestructible, I think, and it deals damage to. It fights another creature, and then whenever damage is dealt to it, they're going to counter this. Improvise. Metallic Rebuke. Sure. So yeah, counter magic's could be a problem for us. Anyway, and it just I think it was a different time. It was definitely a different time. Solitudes were everywhere. There were a lot of exile-based effects, and there still are some exile-based effects, obviously Leyline Binding. And everyone just had answers for my key pieces, and I never got to actually kill anyone with it. I would just die. But now, the way I think they didn't even attack because of Ragavan. Or they have another improvised spell, is what it looks like. Do we just go for it and see if they have another Metallic Rebuke? I think we'll set up our draw. And they would just exile the Boros Reckoner or whatever, or they might Lightning Bolt something. Anyway, they would just take it, and it never really even was competitive. But I think both the meta and the card pool is different now. The meta has moved away a lot from Solitude, in part. Now they attack because of they can hardcast Metallic Rebuke. Anyway, so the meta's moved away from some of that stuff, but also it's gotten better with with Modern Horizons 3. I mean, Modern Horizons 3 has brought so many powerful threats that this deck didn't exist before Modern Horizons 3. All right, another Gianni. Well, we'll cast that into their Metallic Rebuke. That's fine. Gotta get those counter spells out of their hand one way or the other. Counter magic is one way that this deck can struggle. Although, again, the plan is to put pressure on our opponent via all these cheap creatures that are powerful and can take over a game by themselves, and then run them out of answers, and then stick what we need to win. Trying to decide if they want to do that. I guess they're going to let it go. Sure. All right. Gonna maybe save their Metallic Rebuke for what matters, which is this Blasphemous Act, or a White Orchid Phantom, I imagine. That's something that would get them to. Spring Leaf Drum. So yeah, I think Affinity, again, has a high ceiling and a low floor. Like, it's easy to fight against. Sideboard Hate can really crush it. But it can also have like these explosive starts that just win out of nowhere kind of thing. So do we play another Ajani? Sacrifice this one. It is a cat warrior creature. Opponent really just doesn't want to die to what they died to last game, and I can't blame them. That wasn't amazing. Flagstones, graveyard. A lot of lands in the graveyard here. So we could attack. They double block. We could bolt something in response. Let's see what they do now. Eventually, they're going to burn a counterspell because they're not going to. Otherwise, we'll flood the board with these creatures. Okay. Well, we get to choose, huh? All right. Now what do we do? Put a +1/+1 counter on each cat you control. Create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. When you do, if you control a red permanent other than a Johnny. Each opponent chooses. All right. So we're going to bus. Each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. All right, well, we're going to attack. I probably should have played the Sacred Foundry in hindsight. We don't have anything to do. We're just representing. All right, well, we have a lightning bolt to back up if they decide to cranial plating, that's the word. Something. We can bolt it in response, and hopefully they can't counter it, but they have so many artifacts and lands, they might be able to. We still have our Blasphemous Act, just to clean it up if we have to, and we have a Planeswalker now, so assuming this will be a Thought Monitor. Yep. That's fine. Do we want to lightning bolt that? So what do we want to do here? We can ultimate the Ajani already. They get an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker, and then they sack the rest. So they would get 1, 2 things, maybe. We can do that. So we want to lightning bolt this Emery. That would bait out a kill spell for sure. Or a counter spell if they have it. They have the improvise. Which I don't think they could do improvise right now, but they do have the blue mana, so they can tap those 2 artifacts. They do improvise. Now, the question is, if we draw Boros Reckoner, do we win? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're thinking about it. Well, we wouldn't win because they wouldn't be at. They're not dead yet. They're not in 13 damage range yet. Okay. We will not do that. Another useless land. Not really sure if this is the right play, to be honest. They're going to keep the Emery. I think we needed a Blasphemous Act there. We'll see, though. You never know. This is going to cost 3 mana. Hit 1, 2, they're going to keep a creature at least, maybe 2. So I think we can still Blasphemous Act on this turn. Clean up the board. Well, we could have Blasphemous Acted and then just made a cat token. Probably would have been a better play. I was thinking. All right, so they got rid of all that stuff. That means Blasphemous Act is going to cost 1, 2, 3, 6, and we do not have. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, I mean, Blasphemous Act is there for rebuilding, I guess, purposes, I suppose. We can play this. No. Flash this down. Doesn't really matter. They're going to go get a basic no matter what. Okay, well, so that's what we got. Our opponent can now cast an artifact card from the graveyard, which I imagine will be something like Thought Monitor to refill their hand. But that was good for us. I mean, we are able to pressure our opponent's life total, keep our board. They're not going to want to attack with Emery, and we have a blocker if they do. We are going to be able to pump up our cats, present lethal threats. I mean, have them dead on board next turn. Johnny, man. It's a pretty good card. All right, so what is our opponent going to do? We're still one. We're still one one Boros Reckoner away from winning if they do manage to put a couple creatures on the battlefield. So we can go 1, 1, 2, 3 for Boros Reckoner, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we would need them to put one more. So if they do, or they're just looking for card draw right now. Is that what they went for? Bobble? Just looking to draw some cards. See what we're going to draw. I mean, they don't put another creature on the battlefield. They're dead to the just attacks. And they can't, if they crack this, they're going to lose their ability to tap for any color. They're just looking at our hand deck again for some reason instead of their own. Yeah, I mean, we saw the Blasphemous Act win in game one. We probably didn't need it to win, but it felt good. That's for sure. Draw some cards, see if they find an answer. That's what we're doing. Swing for lethal. What do they have? Maybe something with flash. So the Phyrexian Vindicator, and they scoop it up. Yeah, Phyrexian Vindicator might have won on its own. It probably would have, to be honest. But I mean, it sure did feel good with Blasphemous Act, and it also, again, just closed the game out immediately versus giving our opponent a chance to find some kind of way to interact with what we were doing and answer. So sweet, that was a Affinity. I mean, it used to be so powerful, and they've nerfed enough tools of it, and the rest of the formats caught up. You saw, but to continue, you saw in game two, just, I mean, what did we play really? We had a Ragavan. I don't even know if we played Ragavan that game, actually. We just had a Johnny, White Orchid Phantom. That was it. We played 2 Johnnies to flip ours, got a White Orchid Phantom, punched into some damage, had a timely kill spell. I mean, we Johnny them that game. That's the power of a Johnny. All right, well, Modern Horizons 3, busted set. Thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all on the next one.
This has been another edition of Keeping Modern Janky. This is Johnny Cycles of CyclesGaming.com. If you haven't already, check out my original Magic the Gathering content over at CyclesGaming.com. I write about my various commander decks. I post articles and video of my gameplay of my various modern janky brews, and I'm publishing my science fiction fantasy novel, The Podkind, serially. If you enjoy the content, check out my YouTube channel, Johnny Cycles, and click that subscribe button. Everybody counts. As always, thanks for watching. This is Johnny Cycles. I'll catch y'all on the next one.